At 5:30, yeah, 5:31. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I like to call our meeting to order. If everyone at this time would join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, we'll say our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll go down to approving our agenda. We do have one item to add tonight. As Mr. Davis mentioned, it was regarding our, it's a change order for the Bremen Ballpark project. So we would need to add this to the agenda under item G, and I'll make a motion to add this as item G under the agenda.
Second.
Second by, was that Daryl?
Rajiv, I think.
Oh, Rajiv, okay. All right, all in favor of adding item G to the agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. And so now I need a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Ms. Wells,
Second.
second by Mr. Bowers, and all in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. So we'll move on down to Eric with the treasurer's report.
All right, thank you, Chairman Rager and board members. Oh, I gotta, hold on a second, I gotta take over control of my screen. All right, can you all see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tonight I bring you the financials as of June 30th, 2020. First, we'll start with the revenues. Our beginning balance of 22.8 million, that's down by 71,000. However, monthly receipts are up by 11,000 from last month and up 120,000 from the same period last year. SEEK has remained unchanged. Federal is up almost 50,000. State taxes and other, they're down. Food service is up 55,000. The major player that really is up is this capital outlay right here. I just learned how to do this laser pointer. I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, I want to show you guys that. Daycare was unchanged. So for monthly receipts of about $3 million and total cash and revenues of about 25.9 million. The expenditures, total accounts payable was about $979,000. Of that, it's down about 1.43 million when compared to the same period of last year. That's construction. The significant bills in June were 321,000 to Bluegrass International for the purchase of buses, 117,698 to CDW. Those are for some Chromebooks, and 47,000 to Westerfield Builders for construction on Bremen Ballpark. Payroll is about 4.5 million. It's down 48,000 versus June of 2019. A lot of that's in sub costs and not needing to do like additional payments to teachers and other employees and such. So like for PD and those sorts of extra things. So for a total of about 5.47 million. The breakdown of that, about 606,000 were fixed and mixed expenses. Variable expense were 298,000, and utilities expense was 74,000. That's significantly lower. The breakdown of the accounts payable, the general fund was 649,000. Fund 2 and school activity funds, 163,000. Construction, about 47,000. Debt service, 1,000. Food service and daycare, 118,000. And the ledger balance at the close of the month was 20.4 million. Bank balance 13.3, outstanding checks 761,000.
Okay, guys, I think I'm finally on.
Oh, well, hello. So with a cash balance of about 12.6 million at the end of the month. Just so you guys are aware, this month and June and July are kind of odd. We, on an accounting thing, we're mostly cash basis, but June and July we're a mixed, we're between accrual and cash. So some of, and that's just for audit reasons, some of the accounts payable that are occurring, that are paid for in July, which have been done, are actually applied to June, just because they were bills that were in June. So it's kind of lends to the higher accounts payable. So breakdown of that balance, general fund is about 11.9 million, almost 12 million. That's down 3.2. Special revenue is up 92. Debt service, we zero that out at the end of the year. So that's up 758,000. Food service up 38.5 thousand. Daycare is up 13.5. The rest remain unchanged. So the extended financial picture, in November of 20, we expect to have about 14.5 million in our account, and that pretty much wraps it up. Any questions?
Eric, is the additional revenue in June and July, is that like the franchise and excise taxes, or?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The additional revenue, there's 428,000 in June and then 670 in July. I was just curious.
That's capital outlay. That's what that's part of the tax. It's almost a fund transfer that we have from a state level that helps fund our debt service. And so that reduces the capital outlay, reduces the burden on the general fund for debt service.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And Stephanie, I'll just leave this up because I have the board bills on the next slide. So if there's.
Okay. I didn't realize I was muted.
I'm sorry.
I was like, why isn't anything? All right. Is there any other questions on the treasurer's report? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Bowers and a second by
Second.
Mr. Johar. Okay. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. And we'll go down to payment of bills and salaries.
Thank you. Thank you again. The July board bills, I bring 638,000 to you. General fund is 462,000, which is the bulk of it. That just with those, the significant bills are KIMI, which is our workman's comp. That's 255,000. Old National is debt service, 61,000. Roberts Insurance and Investments, that's our student accident insurance that we give for the kids, about 54,000. Fiscal court is to help pay for SROs, and the Train Parts Center is for the repair of the older AC units.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there any questions regarding the payments of bills and salaries? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Johar,
Second.
second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of paying bills and salaries, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now down to public participation. Did we have any, Sherry?
No public participation.
Okay. No public participation for tonight, so we will move on down to the administrative report, and we'll start the superintendent report. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Chairman Rager, board members. I'm going to try to kind of go through several things here, and stop me anytime, or if you need clarification, stop me for that, or question either one. So basically, we're going to be releasing a reentry plan soon. We're working on that. We're actually pretty close to having it done. And the trick is, when do we release that? And if we do it too early, then it's kind of, it could change so quickly. You know, at the same time, our parents and our folks need to know where we're at. So we put some stuff in the paper this week, a lot of points, a lot of information we're trying to release, and we're working on some videos and some other things. But we are working on that plan. But what parents can know for sure now is the goal right now is that we will be starting on August 26th in some form. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And we do know, just kind of reiterating, we did vote, you guys did, to keep fall break and spring break, so they can make plans based on those dates. Now, what that'll look like when we're in school, you know, that's what we're continuing to work on. But that plan is, we've looked at other plans, we've talked amongst ourselves, we've met with leadership, I've met with some parents and, you know, teachers, and we're trying to, like, what's reasonable that we can put out there. And it's, you know, it's not a simple thing, because it's like it just changes constantly as this virus goes up and down, and all these other things happen. So, but we are working on it. We'll get it out there. I'll tell you now, we may need to call a special call meeting at some point in the next week or two to run that by you guys, to get it approved before we put it out. We certainly want your approval on that. But right now, we're kind of gathering some data, and I'll let Julie, is there anything you want to jump in on now? She's really, you know, our whole group's worked with it, but Julie's kind of the one that puts it all together. Anything you want to say, Julie, at this point before I kind of move on into some specifics? I'm going to take that as a no. She may not be on here now. I don't know.
Oh wait, no, I'm here. Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. I was saying you share, and then I'll be taking notes, and then whatever I feel like we need to add, I'll add at the end.
Okay, I'll do it that way. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to try to get a lot of data in over the next week to week and a half. Next week, we'll start by we're going to try to reach each parent or guardian of a student. So we're going to, for each student, we're going to try to reach a parent or guardian. And we've got kind of a survey questionnaire for them. And the teachers are going to kind of take groups and call. And we're going to ask them several things, get their opinion on things, get their thoughts on things. And we're going to talk about, what does virtual mean? What does in-person versus virtual? What do those options look like? And we want to make it clear, and because I don't want parents to think, and we'll say this to them, that they are committing. If we call you Monday and you say, hey, I think I want to be in person, but you know, that doesn't mean you're locked into that. We want to know at this point in time, how do you feel about things? What are you thinking? And that's data we can use to make our plans and to put our reentry plan together. I really look forward to getting that data and seeing what our folks think. So again, they're not committing to anything, but we've got quite a questionnaire we ended up drawing up. I'd say it's going to be at least a 5 or 10 minute conversation with each guardian, maybe more, and just to get their thoughts on things, and maybe gives us an opportunity to explain things to them. Maybe they have questions we can answer. So we're working on a frequently asked question list of things that we're hearing a lot, and we're trying to work that out where we can maybe put it on Facebook or get it out there, you know, where you can go this, well, what about this? Well, maybe that answer's there. Knowing that all of this is a lot of this is subject to change. It just is. I wish you could say, you know, it's 100% definitive, but the fact is we have to be flexible. We have to move as circumstances change, but we have a starting point. And our folks, as we talk to them, they're going to help us with that. So that will happen next week. I think Carla will be sending out something tomorrow or Sunday, letting them know a call will be coming, be expecting a phone call. They may have a number come up that they don't recognize, and we tend to not want to answer those calls. I know I do, but we want our parents to know that maybe you need to until someone reaches you, because we're going to try to be, again, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from each and every parent and see what they think. So that'll start next week. We'll also be surveying our staff. We want to know how our staff feels about coming back. Where do they stand on just their thoughts? We want input. So what we'll be able to do is we'll take, at the end of next week, I think we'll know a lot of this, maybe into the following week, some. We'll know what parents are thinking at this point and kind of where our staff is on, hopefully, our goal is that they're in person. I mean, that's ultimately, we know that we can't do as well with virtual teaching as you can in person. It's just simply impossible. But we also know that we're trying to ramp up what we can do with the virtual learning, what we can do with someone who stays home. We want it to be different than in the spring. We've had more time to plan now, and we need that to be more effective, and we're certainly working on that. But again, the teachers can talk with them. We've met with principals multiple times, and they're meeting with their staffs, and then the staffs will have a script to follow that kind of gives, so we're all saying the same thing. We don't want to be telling one parent this and one parent this. We're trying to be consistent with our message, and again, we'll gather that data and go from there. The staff stuff, again, we'll be getting that out early next week as well. As of now, what we're planning on doing is to give parents two options without judgment. Some will be, they simply can't come because of a health condition. And again, I've used my nephew as an example, and that may very well be the case with him. Some simply aren't comfortable. And we're not going to judge one way or the other. We're going to say whatever you choose, whether you choose to send your child to school 5 days a week, or you choose to keep your child home, we're going to do our best we're going to do our best to serve your child and keep them safe, and the teaching, the whole thing, the mental, social, all that, we're going to work with them no matter what you decide to do. But they're going to have two options. They don't have to make the choice now. They just need to be thinking about it now. So when we call, we just want to know what they're thinking at this point, and they have the right to change their mind as we move closer. We'll reach out to them again. We're just looking for information now. Something that is different than it was last year, because we realized that our kids who stayed home, we did the best we could. Parents did the best they could. Kids did the best they could. But we had a lot of problems with lack of internet access, lack of a device. So we're trying to help with that. We've taken our federal dollars. The government gave us some money, CARES Act. We spent a good chunk of that on Chromebooks. So what we plan on doing at this point, all students grades 3 through 12 will be given access. They'll be able to take a Chromebook home with them. And so if they stay home, they'll have that Chromebook for the teacher to work with them on, where maybe they didn't last year. And even if they're in school, they can use that Chromebook. It's another source of technology. So it's win-win on that. But we also know that some of those kids, even if they have the Chromebook, they won't have Wi-Fi access. So one of the things we've done to try to help with that is we've added a hotspot, a Wi-Fi access hotspot, whatever you want to call it, at each school. So if they can get to a school parking lot, they can get it. If the teacher records a message or teacher records a lesson, and we're working on those sorts of things, then they can, even if it's after hours, they could get there and get Wi-Fi access with their Chromebook and then download that and all. So we're working through that, trying to make that better than it was and take away some of the obstacles our kids had when they stayed home. And you notice I left out K through 2 on the Chromebooks. We have concerns on K through 2 about it's going to take so much parent help with that, and will they be there to be able to do that consistently? And also the attention span of the little guys is not always really long. So we're a little bit concerned with that. Having said that, we've had some teachers and some parents of kids at K through 2 level, when I put that out in the paper, they said, we think maybe we can use them. So what we're going to do is Matt Perkins is going to be taking some teachers from K through 2 from each school, And he's going to meet with them, and we determined that we need Chromebooks for K through 2, that it is a viable expense because it's quite a bit of money. But if we think that's what we need to serve those kids, that's what we'll do. So we're working with the younger ones as well. They're just a little trickier when it comes to the technology and all that at home. As I said, we are working hard on providing better instruction than we did in the spring, even though we tried hard, and I'm proud of our folks. We've had more time now. But at the same time, we are going to have to ask for more responsibility from our kids. We've got to figure out a way where we touch base with them each day. They have to check in. We've got to make sure we figure out how to do that, because we can't let them fall further behind. So as we improve our instruction, and we need help on their end too, the parents and the kids and all that as well. And I'm confident we'll get that, but that is a concern on that we had a problem with that last year. It wasn't optimal. So we're going to try to make that better as well. Now, questions I'm getting a lot today from folks, some emails and some others, are we going to end up starting all NTI? You saw what Jefferson County did. Jefferson County has come out and announced they will not be starting in-person classes. They're starting all NTI at home. Our goal is to start with an in-person option. That is absolutely our goal. That's what we're planning towards. Could that change? Yes, it could. Obviously it could. But we are not planning on that right now. Our plan, what we meet about virtually every day, is can we get our kids back in our school? We want to see them. We want to lay eyes on them. We want to talk to them. We want to work in that respect. And so that's our goal. But I want to be honest, it's possible that can happen. It could be that the governor asks us to close. It could be that we have such an outbreak here, it's the smart thing to do. Because starting school with this going on is not simple. We're meeting every day, seemingly all day, but we're working through it. And I do have confidence that we can do it in a safe manner, but it takes a ton of planning. And there's so many different aspects to think about. The feeding, how are you going to feed them when they're there? The transportation is, it's a whole different beast. So we're having those talks, how they move in school, how they move from class to class. And all these things we're talking about all the time. And every day we chip away a little more and we get a little bit more in place. And we still have about a month. So again, the question I've gotten today, are we going to end up closing too right off the bat? We hope not. That's not the goal. Our feeding this summer, so I'm jumping around a little. I'm sorry. Our feeding this summer continues. We will feed each week, thanks to transportation, thanks to our food service folks, Joe Cooper and Kim Dukes, and a lot of folks jumping in and helping those bus drivers and all those folks and our folks in the cafeteria. Each and every week, all summer long, we've delivered food, and we will continue to do that right up until school starts. And then when we get to that point, we'll figure it out again. Our goal is to continue to do that. I couldn't be prouder of how the kids have been served in that respect. And again, we'll continue to do it. It's getting a little hotter loading those buses each week. We're all sweating a little more, but it's worth it. And just a lot of folks to be proud of there. We did meet with our health department today, and I want to thank Stephanie and Kim. They were in that meeting with us. Pretty much all of our principals, our leadership team, and I think 3 or 4 folks from our health department had a good talk as we continue to try to hash it out on getting their advice, and we tell them our concerns. We talk about our reentry plan some at this point. What do they think about that? So that's a kind of a back and forth there. I will share this. We were told today that our health department got a grant that will allow if we have to have a student tested or a staff member tested. And Stephanie, help me remember this. Was it like we'd have a result in 15 minutes, 30 minutes?
I didn't hear, it kind of cut out when she said the time, but usually within the 2 we have at the hospital, or there's 2 that one's 15 minutes, one's 45. So I'm not sure which of those, but it is a rapid test. So within the hour for sure, you would know if you had a positive case or not.
And guys, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. So if we have a child with a fever and, you know, they have to get tested, we have to wait 3 days, and that fever may be an upper respiratory infection. It may be allergies, who knows? And you have to treat it as maybe COVID-19 case and do all the contact tracing. And do you close school? And how many, do they need to be quarantined and all this? If we can get this, the student or the staff member tested and know a result in 30 or 45 minutes, that makes those decisions a whole lot easier to make in real time. So that's tremendous news. That is
That's a
absolutely
huge help.
tremendous news to hear that today. Hats off to our health department. I think 16 health departments in the state, she said, I think, Stephanie,
I think she said
have
yes.
got that, and we're one of them. So that's a huge plus. As of now, the way it looks is masks will be required. That's you know, that's not an option where each school can decide what they want to do. Masks will be required unless in school you can be 6 feet apart. So if the students can be in a classroom, the guidance we're getting now, and they're able to be spaced 6 feet apart, they don't have their mask on at that point, but if they can't, they have to have their mask on. Well, this is where this survey we're taking is going to help us a little bit. If we have 10% of our kids that are going to stay home, but 90% are coming, well, that changes maybe what we need to look at. You know, all right, we can put them in a classroom. They simply have to wear their mask the whole time. And if our numbers are way down, there may be classrooms where they don't have to do that. You know, they can actually take that mask off, and because they're far enough away. So again, we're simply following our guidelines on that. And I know there's a lot of politically charged climate out there, and we understand that. And there's reasonable opinions on both sides. We understand that. I'm not trying to argue that at all. We simply are taking the guidelines we're given from the state, from the health department, from KDE. We got a lot of bosses, it seems, that in those guidelines we're given, how can we make it work? Not we can't do this, but how can we take all this and make it work? And it is a chore, but again, I think we're getting there. So transportation, you know, that the guidance on that is something we need to fully understand. How many kids can you get on a bus? Right now, they're saying, you know, with some exceptions, you got to be sitting back, leave this seat empty up front, all this. But as long as they're wearing masks, you know, you can get them on the bus. Well, that's really important information for us as far as we try to get kids in school. The other big question, you know, are you going to have to take temperatures, the temperature check before they get into school? Yes. Our guidance is we will have to do that. So our options then, under that guidance, do we do that before they get on a bus, which would be ideal, or do we wait and do it before they get into school? Well, with car riders, we'll have to do it as they get out of the car. You know, we can check them in. With buses, that gets a little trickier because we don't have a monitor on each bus to take that temperature. And there may be some routes where a bus driver could take the temperature as a student gets on, but some routes, that's not a wise thing if you're sitting around a curve and you've got several that are going to be loading at once. So we've got to work in the safety of just being the whole bus thing with the safety of the COVID-19 stuff. So we're working on that. We would like to, our buses with monitors will probably check temperatures as they get on. And buses without monitors may not be able to. We're trying to figure that one out. They may have to do it when they get to school. But as of now, our guidance is all kids will be checked before they come into school. All staff will be checked. Do a temperature check, a little questionnaire before they come into school. So there are a lot of things in place we know we're going to have to do. We're simply trying to decide how's the best way to do it. And then when you get into the minutia, the details, how are you going to feed them? How are you going to feed kids that have to stay 6 feet apart, can't wear a mask while you're eating? So we're working on that too. It may be a case where some kids go to the gym and we spread them out in there. Maybe if they bring their lunch, they eat in the gym. And then you have fewer kids that need to use the cafeteria. Then you have to have time between lunches because you got to clean. So all those are the logistical things that we need to make sure we have the supplies for, make sure there's a plan in place. And as we release a reentry plan. Each principal will have some specifics to their school. Shortly thereafter, they'll release their own, because how some of this may work at Bremen may not be the same way it's going to work at South Middle. You know, they did have different sized lunchrooms and all this. So those are the types of things. Those are some basics for parents to know, that these are some rules in place that we'll have to follow. And we're trying to tell you a little bit about what our thoughts are given those guidelines. Could those guidelines change? Possible. They've changed some with transportation. At the beginning, it was like you can only get 8 or 9 kids on a bus, which you can imagine the problem that presents us. But that got changed to where if they wear a mask, we think right now, you know, that we can get more on a bus. So, you know, and there'll be things in place, like the first one on the bus may sit in the back, and then we work our way forward. We're trying to minimize as much as we can getting into contact with any more than you have to. We're trying to minimize the contact. So let's just say Daryl tests positive. Well, when they start going and asking Daryl these questions and doing the contact tracing, the fewer people Daryl's been around, the easier it is. So that's that kind of thing we've got in mind as we transport, as we feed, as they go to the restroom, in the classroom, with assigned seats and all this, so we can minimize all that. So I just need parents to know that if they do decide to send their child to school, we're doing everything in the world we can to keep them safe. That's number one. Staff, your safety is number one. After we get past that, we really want to get into instruction too. We like teaching kids, but right now we're working through all these other things to get to that. But safety will remain number one. That's what's taking up a whole lot of our time each and every day, as it should. As I said earlier, put something in the paper this week, just a lot of bulleted points. As it came to mind, I'm like, I need to get this out there. I need to relay to parents what we know now, or what we think we know now, because I know they're chomping at the bit. They want information. They're frustrated. I understand that. Frustrating time. Frustrating for us too. But no, as we work through things, we'll be sharing things with you. And I may go on the radio next Tuesday morning with Billy and Wendell, and you know, talk on there a little bit. May take some questions. We'll continue to try to get stuff out in the paper, on our Facebook, on social media, and then the reentry plan when that comes. Our phone calls I'm excited about, because it really gives that one-on-one. A parent can say, hey, I'm really worried about this. We may not have the answer. And if we don't, we'll tell you that. But we'll take note of that question, and we'll make sure that we're working towards that, and we try to convey that information to you as we get it. Sports. Let's talk sports and extracurricular a little bit. We're easing into that. And as we do this now in smaller groups, and they can only do so much, there's not contact yet. And when they get there, when they get each coach, as they work with their kids, they have some guidelines they have to follow. They should always have a mask on, unless they're running. If the kids are running, there's some exceptions for that. But basically, they should always have their mask on, and they do the temperature check every time. Now, let me jump back a little bit as I think about masks. There will be some exemptions for kids wearing masks in school. There are some exemptions that will be handed down to us. Some can't do it because of a medical reason. There may be a few other reasons that they can't do it. And if that's the case, certainly we're going to work with them. Back to sports. We're moving forward slowly. You see where some colleges have shut down seasons through the fall. And so I get a lot of questions on, do you think we're going to have a season? I hope so. We're moving towards it. That's the goal. But if we can't do it safely, we won't. And if we have to move something to the spring, is that possible? Could football conceivably play in the spring? Could soccer? I don't know. Maybe. It's a different year. So different things are on the table than used to be. Our goal is to give these kids the experiences they deserve in school, sports, band, academic team, whatever it may be. We want to provide that as we can. And I'm going to let Donna jump in here for just a second, because she's been pretty pleased with our coaches. So Donna, if you're where you can hear me and you want to jump in, I told you I'd give you a minute here.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I would just, I continue to tell Robbie as well as, or Mr. Davis, as well as everyone at central office. I've been extremely pleased with our coaching staff, all our extracurricular sponsors and coaches. They have followed through with the guidelines that we've put into place, from checking the temperatures to social distancing to wearing masks. And more importantly, as a lot of our coaches have said, our kids are the ones who are making it a successful transition. We've been very happy with our kids and very pleased. And I think they just wanted a little bit of normalcy to get back into things too. So very excited to just have some kids on campus and be able to, help out their mental health ability, as well as to give them some socialization in person, even if from 6 feet apart, to do that.
And I'm proud of our coaches for that. I met with superintendents, like 10 area superintendents today, and 2 of them said they'd had some issues with coaches kind of not following the guidelines. And they're great people and they're trying to help kids, but sometimes they're not living in the world like we are every single day, that this is what you have to follow. You don't have to agree. You have the right to think it's ridiculous. I won't argue that. So this is what we have to do. And so ours are doing great. I'm proud of them for that. And that's a big deal, guys. And so as long as that's going on, there's less chance that we have to put a stop to something. I got a text from Alex earlier. I think another district has had to kind of quarantine 3 teams since they came back, because I'm sure a positive case or 2. So we could face that. If that happens, we'll deal with it, and we'll make the best decision we can at the time in conjunction with the health department. So we will have cases, guys. If we're in person, we will have cases. I can't tell a parent, I can't look them in the eye and say, no, we can guarantee we're going to be safe and we can guarantee it won't happen. It's going to happen. I mean, it's happening in our county now. There's a little more social community transmission. And, it's folks come back from vacation and all that. And I'm confident that that'll happen in our schools. And at that point, we're going to try to give you more idea how exactly we'll handle it. We're not quite there, but we'll deal with it, but I want everybody to understand that's, it's going to happen at some point. It'll happen on one of our sports teams, and we'll deal with that as the time comes. We're worried about our kids and our staff members and me, the social, emotional, the mental part of this. That's why one reason we really want our kids back. We want some sense of normalcy, even though having that right now is super difficult. But we're trying to figure out. Let's just say, even if they all have to stay home, if we happen to open NTI or the kids who do virtual, how can we give them the counseling or the help, mental health, health help that maybe they need? We're working on that. We realize that's an issue now more than ever. And just understand, as we talk through all this, we're talking about the whole kid. It's not just the instruction, it's the feeding, it's the safety aspect, and it's the whole, how this is making them feel. And I don't want to discount everybody else, but, you just really hate it, especially for seniors, as they go into, if they have to miss their fall sports, like baseball kids last year, we hate it for them. And so we want them to have those experiences. And again, we're trying to get that to happen. We could have a situation where we bring in, even before school starts, we could have a situation where we're able to bring in a few groups at a time to get them acclimated a little bit, to talk to less than 50, if that's their rule, and bring some of those in. We don't know. At the time, the health department may say, no, you're not there yet. But if we can, maybe that's an option where we can bring them in, talk to them about Chromebooks, how they work. I'd love to at least be in school some. If we're going to have to go out, I really want to look at them first, if possible. But guys, if it's not safe, if it's deemed that we can't do it, we'll roll with the punches and we'll deal with it. I'm just saying, our goal is we want to see our kids. We want to see our kids. It's great seeing them like this, like I'm seeing you now, but it's just not the same. So that's what we're shooting for. Julie, I went a long time before I took a breath.
That's what I was about to say.
What do you want to add? I don't know what you said. I missed it, and I'm glad I did. What do you want to add about the reentry here plan at this point? Well, I breathe a little.
Okay. Well, I don't know that I can add a whole lot because you did cover quite a bit. I just would add that we are trying to come up with a communication plan that will help our families know at what COVID-19 risk that we are currently in. We'll have a green zone, a yellow zone, and a red zone. And that will be, we'll use a traffic light system for that. And then we've got some statistics that will go along with those zones. And then when he mentioned some of the extra things that we're doing, as part of our plan, we are addressing social distancing guidelines, PPE guidelines, screening, school exclusion, and contact tracing, cleaning, sanitization, and environmental guidelines. And in each of those, we have at least 8 to 10 projects to support that particular initiative. So nearly 100 different activities and tasks and projects that we're putting into place simultaneously to get this plan up and running. So, and I definitely appreciate all the help that we've been given, and I'm very proud of our team at this point. Does that give you a breather?
And I'm proud of all of our folks. I like to say this, and I mean it. I believe if you guys could sit in on our meetings, staff meetings at each school, or our leadership meetings here, our meetings with principals, or our parents could sit in on the meetings, they would be happy. They would be happy of what we're talking about. We're trying to serve our kids as best we can. Hey, you got a right to disagree. I guarantee we're getting some things wrong and some things we're going to need to change and adjust. But I promise you, our talks are how can we make this work? And how can we make this work also where our staff is put in a good position, where they're safe as well? Because guess what, guys? Our staff's trying to come in, from bus drivers, teachers, custodians, principals. We're all trying to make it work, and that can be a little scary too. As you know, parents are a little worried about bringing their kids back and kind of in these groups. Well, our staff's being asked to come back and do that as well. So, you know, the conversations we're having is to try to make this work on all accounts. And again, if you were sitting there with us, there's no underhanded agendas or anything other than serving our kids as best we can. Knowing, I promise you, some of the things you're going to sit back and say, well, there's got to be a better way to do that. That's stupid. Sometimes you're right. And sometimes we have more information that we're dealing with that you can't share it. I mean, we're living it every day, all day. I'm talking to other superintendents constantly. We're meeting with our state folks constantly. We're meeting with health department constantly. So we're trying to take all that information, and now next week we're going to add parents' thoughts and staff's thoughts, and then we take all that and try to make a reasonable plan that that communicates things pretty effectively. Knowing again that could change a little bit. Seems like we've kind of lost the ability to civilly disagree, and as I talk to our staff and our principals here, because we're not all going to be on the same page. If you get 5 people in a room, they're not going to totally agree on whether you should wear a mask or not everywhere, or whether you should do this or whether you should do that. That's fine. That's reasonable. That's human nature, and we have to serve everybody. Our job is to serve each and every kid and parent, no matter how they feel. So we totally understand if you disagree with that. What we're trying to say is we're taking the guidelines we're given and we're trying to make it work. And what I'm asking our staff to do, at least, is if you disagree, that's fine. It may require a question or a discussion. It doesn't mean you have to attack and have to go the way that sometimes you look in the news, some of the things you see. I would love to avoid that in Muhlenberg County, because this is hard enough as it is. And if we start turning on each other, it's just going to make it a lot more difficult. But having said that, it kind of is what it is. And if it goes that route, we'll deal with that as best we can too. So that's kind of, I've got a couple of other things, but that's a whole long way. I'm looking at the clock here, longer than I meant for it to be, an explanation of kind of where we are. So I'm going to pause for a second in case you guys want to throw anything in on that or ask any questions, and before I add a couple of more things.
I was glad to be part of the meeting today.
I was glad you were part of
I felt like it went well. We had a lot of questions answered. I know some of my concerns I've probably relayed to you. You know, we had got some answers to that with the grant and the rapid test. So we'll be able to know, you know, on the students, the turnaround's going to be so fast. We'll be able to locate, you know, the other students that had exposure or staff that had exposure with students and other teachers. So I feel like that's really going to be a big plus for our district. So I was glad to be able to be in on that Zoom meeting this morning with the health department and everyone else. So thank you.
And just to throw out a little plug for you guys, for people who are watching, we're in pretty much constant contact. The board, you know, our board members, they have questions and you know, they like, check on this. What about this? I'm hearing this. So they're engaged. I assure you they're engaged, and that's helpful, and that's what we want, engaged but supportive. So anyway, that's where we are. We'll continue to try to communicate effectively. You know, Carla's great with that. Like, you know, Robbie, it's time to put something out. We need to say something here, either to the staff, because sometimes I can get so deep into the weeds, you lose the big picture, and hey, it's time to communicate. So I don't want to overdo it, but I want our folks out there. My hope is that they would say, you know what, he's trying to keep us informed as best he can. He's talking to us often. That I have a group that I meet with. I'm about to need to meet with them again. I have a parent and a site-based parent and a site-based teacher from each school that I've met with a couple of times, and likely we'll meet with next week or the week after. That's a great group because they represent so many people. And so I'm able to talk with them and say, hey, what do you think about that? What do you think about this? And that helps form my opinions too. Now, I will say this. I need to bring up the A-B schedule. And that's a schedule where basically you bring in half your kids one day and half your kids the next day, or 2 days and 2 days. Basically, you're bringing in half your kids at a time. There's some positives to that. Guys, there are some times, there's situations we may need to go to that. You know, if we have enough staff that has to be out, you know, because of their quarantine or whatever issues we may have, that could happen. I'm not saying it can't. I'm saying right now that's not our goal. It creates some real child care problems for parents. And so, you know, we would like to avoid that. We don't think that's best for us at this point. But is there ever a schedule where half the kids could come on Monday, Tuesday, maybe off Wednesday, and half on Thursday, Friday? Yes, we're working on those schedules for the background. You know, we got that running back here. That's not the main thing, but that could happen at some point. I know there's 2 or 3 school systems doing that. And, you know, I understand that our goal is to offer instruction every day. Although, again, that could change. I just wanted to bring up the AB just a little bit. A couple more things. Our facilities planning committee that I'd love to meet with, we still haven't gotten approval from KDE. And it's pretty much just routine, but they are kind of shut down, best I can tell. Melody's reached out multiple times. I think Eric's reached out today. We're hopeful that that'll get going, because we can't move forward with maybe getting all our high school kids on one campus. Our goal is not this year coming up, but the year after. We can't move forward until that committee is approved. And as soon as it's approved, we'll try to get that group together and start having conversations, because I hope this doesn't back it up a year. But right now, we're a couple months later on meeting than I was hoping we would be. So just to let folks out there know, it's not like we've dropped the ball on that. We're still trying. We just haven't been able to do that. Hopefully that'll come soon. That committee is already formed. It's just a matter of, well, can we officially meet? And, you know, right now, Eric and Scott Noah are the architect. They are going through with plans and things to present to that group as far as what cost savings that would be, and what cost it would be maybe to add on to the cafeteria if we did get all our kids on one campus. We're working on all that information, but we can't tell it to anybody because we can't officially meet. So that's kind of where we are with that. I don't want you to think we're not considering that, because we do want to have those conversations. We're just prevented from it right now because we simply can't get an approval, which is frustrating. And lastly, TVA. We're still, you know what's looming with TVA, our huge cut, and we're still working on that. In the last couple of weeks, I've I've been able to talk to Kenny Allen. He's on the TVA board. I've talked to a representative from the governor's office. I've talked to a representative from Senator McConnell's office. I've talked to State Senator C.B. Embry, Representative Melinda Prunty, and basically we're exploring every option. I was able today to go to Rochester Dam with the hopes of talking to Senator McConnell a little bit, and I was able to get just a few minutes. And I really wasn't sure that I could, but I was able to bring up our situation and is there any way, that it can be helped? Certainly no promises are coming in from anywhere. There is optimism in places. There is hope. But I just need everybody out there to know we're not forgetting about that with everything else going on. We're working every channel we know how to work, calling anybody that'll listen and trying to tell them how that will affect our kids and our staff and what we've already dealt with in the past. So the TVA thing is something we are still working on as this goes on. And like I said, I was able to have a short conversation today just to try to keep it in the forefront of their minds. And Senator McConnell said we're aware of it in our office and, can't make any promises, but we are aware. So that's where we are at this point for TVA. So 2 hours later, I'm saying that's the end of my superintendent's report, unless you guys have questions. And please make them easy ones.
I wrote down about 10. All right, any questions? All right, we thank you for that information, what little bit it was. So now, well, Chad, are you still awake? We'll go down to let him talk about our data security practices.
Chair and board members, we do this yearly. We as a district have to review our state's data security practice and guidelines. This past year, we followed the state guidelines and implemented new password requirements for staff members. This includes how they log onto their computers, their email. We changed the way they log into Infinite Campus. We continue to email staff on best practices for emails, including how to spot secure data phishing emails. We check our servers to make sure the permissions are set correctly on the shares. And we contact vendors to make sure we have the correct agreements when personal data is being shared with them. This is for programs students use, and you got to make sure if any data is stored in the cloud, that if a breach occurs, agreements are in place. In summary, we are following the state's guidance on data security. Thank you, board members.
Thank you. And also, board members, you have a copy of the personnel actions in your binder to look at as well. So those are all.
Could I have the minutes to show that Chad and I took 42 minutes to do the administrative report?
Good thing you don't get paid by the hour. No. Okay, so we will move on down to our board action items. If you hear a bunch of commotion, we have a birthday boy in the house, so we've got boys coming in left and right for a celebration. So
Okay, I'm coming.
he's 23. His birthday present, he's getting a new address. No, just kidding.
That's what my wife told me Sunday.
Just kidding. Now we'll go on down to the board action items. Item A is to consider amending the 2021 school calendar. Who's doing this one? Mr. Freeman. Yeah. Hey, on here.
Yes, I am. Good evening, Ms. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First of all, sorry about this. I apologize for this item on the agenda, but last time when I was looking over some things, I had about, and this is my fault, I had about 5 or 6 different scenarios with times and calendars and all that. And so when I submitted, it was based on a calendar that had additional minutes beyond the 10 that we added last time. So it's not that bad of a fix. The only thing is nothing's going to change as far as start time. Nothing's going to change as far as beginning of the school. Basically what it is, you all had passed that that there would be 164 instructional days. When reviewing the calendar, it only had 161. So basically what we have to do is we have to tack on 3 at the end of the year. And that would put our last day for kids on May the 18th instead of the 13th, and make closing day for staff May 19th instead of May 14th. So it was definitely an error on my part. But it's a quick fix. And again, we passed it with the notes that it would be 164 student instructional days. So the calendar that we had just had the 161. So just a small change, but I felt like it was best to just come forward and let you all approve that, even though it was passed with 164. That way we could make sure we tie up everything as far as loose ends. And so basically what we're going to do is just move things back 3 days at the end of the year. And everything at the beginning stays the same. That's the only change. So you have any questions on that?
Any questions?
Mm,
If not, I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
I didn't get who that was.
Susan,
Susan, okay. All right, have a motion by Ms. Wells,
Second.
second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of amending the 2021 school calendar, say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Chairman Rager.
Thanks. All right, we'll go down to item B. Consider the second reading for KSBA policy update number 43. Ms. Browning.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Good?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. I have a dog barking, so sorry. Basically, this is
my boys.
this is just the second reading of the KSBA board policy update. We had our first reading. Policies require a second reading to be approved by you all, so that's what I'm asking for.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
And who is that, Rajiv?
Yep.
Okay, second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of considering the second reading of the KSBA board policy update number 43, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. So going down to item C, consider awarding bids for the CDL physicals. Ms. Browning.
We advertised these, as we always do every year, in the paper, in our local papers. We received one bid this time from Baptist Health. It was pretty close to last year's. Actually, I think it's exactly the same amount as it was last year. So we are asking that you approve this bid for our CDL physicals.
Okay.
What is the fee? Is it the same like last year? $55 or something?
I want to say it was either 58 or 55, but I know the TB test is the same.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of awarding the bids for the CDL physicals to Baptist Health, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. We'll go on down to item D, to consider memorandum of agreement with Hopkins County Schools for teacher of visually impaired contract. Ms. Finley?
Hello. So this is an agreement that we bring before you each year. And we do have several students in our district who have visual impairments. Hopkins County has a teacher that they need 4 days a week. And we have the luxury of using that teacher 1 day a week, and that does meet the needs of our students. So inside your packet, you see the memorandum, and it outlines the duties and her pay. And we are seeking that you approve this agreement this next year.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Who was that, Ms. Bard?
Yes.
Second by Ms. Bard. Okay. All in favor of approving the memorandum of agreement with Hopkins County Schools for the teacher of visually impaired contract, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. And we'll go down to item E, consider letter of engagement with Fowler Law Firm for special education 504 legal services and ADA FMLA Legal Services. Ms. Penley?
Yes, this is another agreement that we bring before you each year. And special education and 504 matters are specialized areas in the law. And so even though we do have a board attorney who does help us from time to time, it is very helpful for us to have someone with this specialized knowledge. And so we're asking that you approve this agreement, and the payment for her services does come out of IDEA funds or special education funds.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the letter of engagement with Fowler Law Firm, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. So we'll go on down to item F, approve amending the 2021 salary schedule. Mr. Bletzinger?
Thank you very much, Sharon Rager. This is just a simple one. There was a line that carried over on the multiplier, and I just had to adjust it down. The maintenance director was too high on the multiplier, so I adjusted it down to correct that. And so it's now in line with what it should have been.
Okay. Any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve the amendment. Okay, motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of considering amending the 2021 salary schedule with the approved change, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. So we'll go on down to the item we added, item G. And this is to approve change orders for the Bremen Ballpark project.
I think I'm doing that one.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. No, I said I didn't write down who was doing it, so whoever.
I think Melody and I just I think we just said I'll do it. So really this is just a change order that I think they're changing the location of the scoreboard, Bermuda grass, another change of location of a double gate, omit a section of the fence, change the foul pole location and add windscreen. And the rotation of the concrete head wall and addition of riprap for a total of $597, which is pretty good considering everything that's being done. So, and that's just, we have to have a change order in order to do the process. So the other thing I did want to tell you all while I had this, because I did run the report on that, is that to date we've have expenses of $680,512 on that project. So we're still in line with that.
And I was just going to say, Chairman Rager, that I was able to be in on that meeting with the architect and Alan Miller there. He's doing the dirt work and all. And these are all just, nothing really major, but they all made good sense and just adjustments that need to be made. So it's, these are positive changes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Johar, and I'll second. All in favor of approving the change order for the Bremen Ballpark project, say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. We'll go on down to the board consent agenda items, and there are several on there. Approving the minutes of the prior board meeting, Martin Hall season approval, reviewing alternate program policies and procedures, appointment of the district's ARC and 504 chairpersons, approval contract with Mountain Comprehensive Care, approval of memorandum of understanding with the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, our leave of absence requests, and our field trip requests. Everyone's had a chance to review all of these in their packets. Is there any discussion?
I didn't see any field trip requests. Are there any?
What's that?
On field trip requests, were there any?
I think there was one for the golf team that I saw.
I did. Golf team.
Under number 18.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, know that all field trips are subject to change.
That's what I was,
that
yes.
obviously may not happen.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so if there's no questions, I need a motion to approve the board consent agenda items.
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Bard,
Second.
second by Mr. Bowers. And all in favor of approving the board consent agenda items, say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
A motion by
Second.
Mr. Bowers and a second by Mr. Johar. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.